Welcome to the 2026 primary election coverage presented by Western Carolina journalists and WeTV students. I'm Hallie Stanley.
And I'm Kendall Link. This is your campus election news magazine. Tonight, we will be discussing the local 2026 primaries, hear from election experts, and see coverage from student reporters about local elections and results from early voting and Election Day.
First, let's take a look at our early voting results. Early voting ended on February 28th. During early voting, a total of 3,808 voters in Jackson County voted, which is around 11% of the registered 35,500 voters in the county. The turnout was higher among Democrats. 1,001 voted early and 900 registered Republicans. The largest group was unaffiliated voters with 1,507 who could choose the party ballot.
Of these voters, 802 chose the Republican ballot and 705 on the Democrat ballot. The majority voted in person, and 84 ballots were received by mail during the early voting period. Jackson County Board of Elections Director Amanda Allen says they sent around 130 mail-in ballots. During the early voting period, voters could still register to vote while casting their ballot. It's more accessible and convenient to voters, giving people the chance to avoid the long lines at the polls. On Election Day, people have to be registered and vote only in the precinct where they are registered.
To better understand the impact of local elections in this primary, we spoke with Dr. Chris Cooper, director of the Hare Institute for Public Policy and North Carolina politics expert on why voting, and especially why primary voting, matters.
I'm here with Dr. Chris Cooper. Thank you again for speaking with me. So why is the primary election so important?
Yeah, happy to be here. And the primaries are so critical, right? So we live in a world where the vast majority of congressional districts and state legislative districts, we already know which party's going to win before they even have the election. So primaries are really the best chance for voters to exercise their voice and have a vote that actually matters for the ultimate winner.
What demographics vote the most in the primary?
I mean, primaries tend to be motivated by hard partisans, right? People that tend to be a little more extreme than people who vote in the general election. Another reason why I think it's so critical for people to get out. If you find yourself as a moderate voter, you may be thinking, hey, the primary isn't for me, but I think it very much is for you. And if you want to fight the extremism in politics, there's no better place to do it than in a primary.
And does the student vote count?
Absolutely. Student votes count the same as everybody else's vote. And, the student vote is critical, right? We're in a situation in Jackson County where we have competitive elections on the Democratic side and the Republican side for county commission chair. We've got on the Republican side for our state legislative seat in C-119 and the state house. We have tons and tons and tons of really competitive and interesting elections where student voice can make the difference.
And can you buy elections as a candidate?
Not really. There's really no way to buy an election, right? I mean, you would say, does the candidate with the most money win? Generally speaking, yes, but it's hard to tease that out, right? One reason that certain candidates get more money than others is because they are more likely to win, right? So the people that want to give them money want to give money to the person who is going to be the person in office. So it's not as simple as money buys elections. Money matters, but money is far from the only thing.
Let's take a closer look at the local contests, including the Jackson County Commissioner's chair race and sheriff's race, along with State House Districts 118 and 119, which covers Haywood, Madison, Jackson, Macon, and Swain counties. In the race for Jackson County Board of Commissioners chairman, voters will have several choices.
Democratic candidates include Marsha Almond and Bobby Hopp. Marsha Almond, former Forest Hills mayor, says that she's running to make county government more open and responsive to residents. Bobby Hopp, former federal disaster response official, says they're running to listen closer to local government and bring accountability.
On the Republican side, Mark Letson will be running against three candidates: John Brown, Jarrett Crow, and David Rogers. Current Chairman Mark Letson says he is focused on improving schools and public facilities while keeping county services strong with an emphasis on library systems. David Rogers supports the county leaving the Fontana Regional Library System and says he wants more accountability and transparency in local government.
Unlike some counties in North Carolina, Jackson County elects its county commissioners by district. Currently, District 1 is represented by Todd Bryson, who has decided to not run again. For District 1 on the Jackson County Board of Commissioners, 4 Democrats are running: John A. Herrera, Julie X. Team Painter, German Vivas, and Casey Wallowender. They're up against 2 Republicans, Anthony K. Sequoia and Stephen J. Sutton.
In District 2 for the Jackson County Board of Commissioners, it's a Democratic race between Sean Bridgers and Francis Owens. And finally, Jackson County voters will choose between 2 Republicans for sheriff, Brandon Elders and current sheriff Doug Farmer.
Let's take a closer look at the state-level races that impact our region. North Carolina House District 119 represents Jackson, Macon, and Swain counties. In North Carolina House District 119, the Republican candidates are Mike Clampett, Anna Ferguson, and Mike Yao.
Mike Clampett has been in the state house for years and campaigns on his experience in disaster recovery, leadership, and strong public safety record. Anna Ferguson is a local business owner and a member of the Eastern Band Cherokee Indians. She says it's time for a new voice to stand up for the region. Mike Yao is new to politics and is running as an independent-minded conservative focused on civil liberties and everyday working families.
North Carolina District 118 covers Haywood and Madison counties. In that Republican primary, the candidates are James Rogers and Mark Pless. Moving to the federal level, North Carolina's 11th congressional district represents a large portion of western North Carolina and Washington, D.C. The Democrats running are Zelda Briarwood, Jamie Ager, Lee Whipple, Paul Maddox, and Richard Hudspeth. The Republican candidates are Chuck Edwards and Adam Smith. For the North Carolina Court of Appeals Judge, Seat 3, the Democrats in the race are James Wallen and Christine Welchick. For the North Carolina Court of Appeals Judge, Seat 1, the Republican candidates are Michael Bryan and Matt Smith.
Now let's look at the U.S. Senate race. On the Democratic side, we've got Darrell Farrow, Justin E. Dews, Roy Cooper, Robert Collin, Marcus W. Williams, and Ulrich Quick. For the Republicans, the candidates include Margaret Dupre, Richard Danzy, Donald M. Brown, Michael Watley, Elizabeth A. Temple, Michelle Morrow, and Thomas Johnson. It's definitely a busy primary with plenty of candidates on both sides, so whichever ballot voters choose, they will have plenty of choices.
Voters can research more about their candidates before casting their ballots. Reporters Dom Sani and Leo Fratashi show us how voters can find more information for those who are undecided.
Undecided voters remain a major challenge in elections. In 2024, the most common reason young people gave for not voting was dissatisfaction with the candidates. We interviewed WCU student Owen Fleming on how he does his research before voting.
So typically I'll look up a sample ballot of the Democratic Party, since I am a registered Democrat, and I'll use the sample ballot from that, and then I'll Google all the names on the ballot and try to see if I can judge their policies from it, you know?
For voters who want to make an informed decision, knowing where to find reliable information can be difficult. Voters can use resources like the North Carolina State Board of Elections to view a sample ballot based on their location. But even then, details about local candidates and their policies can be limited or unclear. Younger voters like Jackson Boyd tends to turn to social media to learn more, often following candidates directly or journalists who cover local politics.
But I also follow people on Blue Sky that are they discuss this stuff in depth.
But social media can also include biased messaging or political propaganda meant to persuade rather than inform. As Election Day approaches, voters are encouraged to compare multiple sources and research candidates' policies before casting their ballots.
Stay tuned to see what student voters on campus care about.
If a natural disaster shows up at your doorstep, you can't just turn it away. That's why it's important to prepare for emergencies before they show up. Go to ready.gov/plan to find the tools and tips you need. And make a plan today.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Oh, boy.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
In today's political climate, it can be tough to find a candidate who falls in line with what you believe in. Reporters Bella Hillary and Caroline March asked student votes what they value most in a politician.
Western Carolina students are sharing their voting values for this upcoming election.
My voting values? I guess I vote based on who I think has policies that are going to affect me better or worse than a separate candidate. Obviously, like depending on like taxes, women's rights, that sort of deal.
I would base them off my Christian values. As a Christian, I think that we are taught to love and care for others, and I think that everybody should be the same way and kind towards everyone, despite their color or anything like that.
I'd say I put people before anything else and people's safety before anything else.
I think right now more religious issues as well as like racial issues. I think that we should be able to all be treated equally and fairly. Being part of the Guard, like the National Guard, I really value like, caring for people.
WCU is offering a voting shuttle located behind the UC. The shuttle runs on weekdays from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. through Friday, February 27th, making it simple and easy for students to cast their vote.
Make sure you cast your vote so your values are heard. Election Day is March 3rd.
Just a month ago, the North Carolina State Board of Elections voted to close the polling site at Western Carolina University. Owen Fleming and Max Balsman have the story.
Students at the university are frustrated with the removal of the campus polling site and marched to the polls as a protest on February 13th, led by around 50 students who marched 1.5 miles on foot to the Cullowhee Recreation Center. Instead of taking a 5-minute walk to campus, students now have to drive if they have a car. Today we interviewed some students and asked about these frustrations. Guy Thomas is not a fan of this change.
Well, personally, if I'm going to give my own opinion here, it's basically an act of voter suppression. I myself am not impacted all too much by it because I have a car, I have access, I can go to the rec center and vote whenever I want to. But for students on campus who like maybe live on at the dorms, who didn't bring their cars up here, just don't have access.
As you can see, students are frustrated by the Board of Elections' decision. 64% of students don't have cars on campus, but the university does offer an alternative in a shuttle service to the recreation center.
I think that is a pretty decent solution, especially since a lot of students maybe don't bring cars. I think that is a good alternative, not as convenient as having it at the UC, but it is at least a progress to a solution.
This is a partial solution, but still can be inconvenient for students who may have class during polling times. After the election results are released, we will know how the removal of the polling place affected the amount of student voters.
The removal of the polling place has vast ramifications for student political organizations on campus. Guy Thomas and Laura Overby investigated these groups' reactions to the news.
Due to the loss of the on-campus voting site for this primary election, students need to walk, drive if they have a car, or take the university van to vote. So far, this is not what students like to do. As a result, the student political groups on campus have very different perspectives about closing the campus voting site. Vice President of College Democrats, Seth Dye, describes the loss of the voting site as an act of deliberate voter suppression and urges students to take action.
We feel already removed, and liberals in this area are in a big sea of red. If you look at all the counties around us, including Jackson County, these are conservative counties, but that doesn't mean that we have to roll down and take it.
We talked to the president of the student organization close to libertarian values, Young Americans for Liberty, Asher Hummel. He believes that the effort to reach the new voting place might make people do research and as a result be more informed voters. And if they want to vote, they'll find a way.
I don't believe that it has a significant impact on college students. Does it have a slight effect on their voice? Yes. But if an individual already wants to vote, they're going to find a way to vote anyways.
The leader of college Republicans at WCU could not be reached, and the leaders of WCU's Turning Point chapter accepted and then declined an interview. Turning Point held a State of the Union watch party instead and focused on political engagement on a larger scale.
Let's head over to the studio for a conversation with Western Carolina journalist Sam Scroggins.
So, Sam, you covered the story for the WCU polling place closing for the Western Carolina journalist. What caused the removal of the WCU polling place, and how did the student body respond to it?
So the Board of Elections says that they closed it to save money. There's different opinions on that. Some people believe it was to silence college students' voices. Maybe they were saving money, not 100% sure. The argument was that there's another polling place like just down the road. It's a waste of taxpayers' money just to have two right next to each other. Clearly students weren't happy. There were a bunch of organizations. I think the College Democrats was a big one that actually filed a lawsuit against the Board of Elections for this.
Yeah. And what did you see and hear from students who participated in the March to the Polls?
Yeah, so students weren't happy. A lot of people I talked to felt like their voices were being silenced, told me that they were planning on voting at the spot that the place usually is or had in the past, and that they were marching just to kind of get their voices heard. A lot of students at WCU don't have cars. That was a big thing. And it's hard to get someone to drive you there. And the walk, I walked it. It's not a fun walk.
Yeah, you're alongside the highway. It's
Yeah,
not safe at all. And what was the response of the Board of Elections to the student request to keep the polling site?
I guess no. They, like with the lawsuit was denied. We don't have the polling place, so.
Yeah. And do you know if there is a path to restore the polling site at WCU in the November general elections?
So I don't know for sure, but when I talked to Chris Cooper for my story, he did tell me that we'll probably see this story repeat in the summer when they vote on the plans again.
Absolutely. Sam, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam, for giving us more details. The on-campus voting shuttle has had less of a turnout than expected. Paisley Harris and Lori Bregler canvassed the student body to find out why.
Have you guys heard about the voting van?
We have. Oh, yes, I have. I have. Yes.
I haven't. No? No, I haven't.
Why is it that barely any WCU students have heard of the voting van? Probably because the van, provided by WCU to give students a way to get to the polls after the on-campus site was shut down, has seen less than 17 students since it began running on February 12th. What was meant to be a large group of eager students being driven to the polls turned into more of a ghost trolley. Lack of advertisement, lack of interest, or maybe just lack of awareness from students led to the van basically flunking, but not all was lost. Even with the low turnout, students who actually rode the van had a pleasant time.
It was really neat. I'm glad that we have it. I think it was really messed up that they took away our polling station here on campus. But I think that that's a really good alternative.
While it is disappointing the voting van was not a huge hit, according to statistics provided by Chris Cooper, Jackson County has actually seen an increase in voting rates of 30% since the 2022.
Stay tuned for more Election Day coverage.
And a live update from the polls after this break.
If a natural disaster shows up at your doorstep, you can't just turn it away. That's why it's important to prepare for emergencies before they show up. Go to ready.gov/plan to find the tools and tips you need. And make a plan today.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
People across Jackson County have headed to the polls this morning, and Aurora Stewart and Jaheel Anderson are reporting on turnout earlier in the election day to see how the day is going and to talk to some of the candidates who were campaigning at the Cullowhee Rec Center.
We are at the Cullowhee Rec Center to hear from voters and candidates. There's a steady stream of voters coming in the few hours we were there. One of the biggest issues that made this voter come to vote was the library.
A lot of people came out and said, please don't do this. The libraries can cost a lot of money. It's probably, it's not only fiscally irresponsible, it might even be really problematic in the long run because of how much it's going to cost the county.
We talked to some of the candidates who are doing some final campaigning running for county commissioner chair or the county commissioner position on both Democrat and Republican ballots.
I'm John Herrera. I'm running for District 1 County Commissioner. Maybe wrong for the election is last year there was a county commissioner who shall not be named, who made a very callous remark about people who the homeless were using the library. Now, I was homeless at once, and I actually used the library to stay warm, to use it to apply to school, and use it to apply for jobs, because I just got out of prison and I needed help from my community, and I just did not know where to go. We all went there multiple times to tell them, please don't do this, please don't leave the FRL. They still didn't. I was sitting back, I did not hear a single person saying they were gonna fix it, and I grew up from a family of doers. We get things done, and I went ahead and cast my ballot in December, or fill out the application in December to go ahead and run for this position.
I'm John Brown. I am Jackson County native, born and raised, and I am running for the county commissioner chairman position here in Jackson County.
And what made you run for the election?
Well, I really, after some prayer and talking to some people that I know and love, I was encouraged to run. I actually served with the town of Silva on the town board for a while. And getting into local politics and kind of seeing how local government works, I wanted to run and put myself out there to be able to serve our county in maybe even a bigger way.
Hi, I'm Marsha Allman. I'm running for Jackson County Chair. My role as mayor, and we need housing here. We need housing for families and professional people. Right now we have student housing, but the professors are coming from Arden and Asheville and Waynesville and all around because we don't have housing for them. Not just we don't have affordable housing, we just don't have housing. So that's something that I want to focus on. There are so many things that I'd like to focus on. But housing and the library are the two things that are taking up most of my thoughts right now.
With voters coming to the polls and their thoughts expressed, now we wait on results. We leave you with this thought from a voter.
I feel like it's my responsibility more than ever to be aware of the issues. I went out and I listened to people talk for the region, you know, who are running for Congress. And I made a really informed decision in this primary on who I think was really honest, transparent, connected, and has really a good heart for people and wants to serve. I mean, that's what it is. It's service.
We are almost at the end of the election day, and we're checking in on some of the main locations around the county. First, we're looking at the Cullowhee Rec Center. Matthias Morgan is joining us live from the polling site. Matthias, what's it looking like at the polls right now?
Well, the polling place is definitely closing down. It's pretty sparse, I would say, but earlier today we had a pretty big turnout. I'd say at least 150 to 200 people that I could see. And but right now, the polling place, people who have been campaigning are now leaving. It's almost 7:30, so the official time to vote is now closed. So yeah, it's pretty sparse.
Have you spoken with any voters today, and what are they saying?
Yes, I spoke to several voters who were walking into the polling place today. There was this one family that stood out to me, is that they were Democratic. Actually, they were Democrats, and they just wanted to see what the whole commotion was with the library controversy, and they thought it wasn't right, so they wanted to vote accordingly. And I think that that is a good thing. Voters wanting to vote in accordance with controversy as well as just political alignment. So, yeah.
How would you describe the atmosphere at the rec center today?
It was actually pretty welcoming and calm. There were people who welcomed me. A lot of the people who campaigned immediately were like, "Hey, are you voting? Have you voted already? Can I tell you about my campaign?" I even got little pamphlets and handouts. I even got a couple of toys from some of the people that were campaigning. So yeah, I'd say it was calm. I didn't see any big commotion. It seemed like a very welcoming environment.
Did you notice anything interesting about who's showing up to vote today?
So when I asked that question to Chief Justice Matt, he noted that for most of the day, it was pretty calm. There weren't really any commotion besides like a couple heated debates, maybe some minor arguments, but all in all, it was nothing really stood out today. It was just people, rushing to vote on the last day, just wanting to cast their votes before the registration closed, and yeah, it was pretty smooth today.
Has there been anything surprising or different happening at the rec center?
So the thing about the Cullowhee Rec Center is it's definitely a bigger polling place than a couple of the other former polling places that I've seen in the past in Jackson County, and if I had to say anything special about it, it's that it's a good place for voting. It's very official. There were officials there to welcome me, and it was very well handled, in my opinion.
How many people have casted their vote at the precinct today?
There were over 250 people who casted their votes today. About 20 more after that I got that question answered. So about, I don't know, 270, 280 about. And all in all, there were about thousands and thousands, over 35,000 registered voters in Jackson County. So yeah, it's a very big turnout.
All right, thanks, Matthias.
We are now going to Alex Pickard, who is at the Jackson County Board of Elections. Alex, what are you seeing?
Right now, things are definitely looking quite quiet as the voting time has ended. But just earlier, we had a group out here welcoming everyone, helping them vote, get it all done what they needed to. Definitely was a nice sight to see, everyone being all helpful.
Have you spoken with any voters while you're there, and what are they saying?
Yeah, I've gotten to speak to a few voters. They all were happy to come out, voice their opinions. Nobody really was too concerned, had any super pressing matters, but they're just glad to get out here, share their voice, and they definitely appreciate all the guidance from the workers here.
How would you describe the atmosphere at the Rec Center right now?
Well, the atmosphere right now is definitely calm, but upon pulling in, it was pretty packed. You had people out here introducing themselves, candidates trying to build up their voting. And I will say, since it has died down a bit, it's definitely calm, but there was the smiles all around, the help, and it was a nice atmosphere to see.
Did you notice anything interesting about who's showing up to vote today?
There was definitely a variety of people, more than I expected. We had the younger kind of couples coming out to vote together. We had the older folks strolling in and out. Those were the more I saw coming in later to the night, which was definitely an interesting part.
And how many people have voted so far at this polling place?
As of 4 p.m., the latest results that I can get, it reached 1,992, bringing the early voting total to 3,734. And from what I had heard to the workers I talked to, this number is just continuing to grow and exceeding expectations.
Thanks, Alex, for your report. The polls will be closed at 7:30 tonight and by 10 p.m. We'll have the preliminary results from Jackson County, and we will update you on it at Western Carolina Journalist.
While votes are still being counted, officials expect to finalize results at 11 a.m. Friday, March 13th. We'll continue to follow up the results and bring you updates as they become available.
And looking ahead, the next big election is the midterms this November, so mark your calendars and make sure you vote.
Thank you for joining us during our coverage of the 2026 primary elections. I'm Kendall Link.
And I'm Hallie Stanley. Have a good night.